email to the POPIA at UNISA. Can I share my UNISA login details with friends, spouses, siblings, or fellow students? No. Sharing of personal information, which includes my UNISA login, is prohibited to protect your constitutional right to privacy. Can I request academic record, examination, or timetable results through a private email account? No. All forms of communication should be done using my UNISA email account. Just for added information, right? If you do require that you do need this information and that you cannot come and request it yourself at that for whatever reason, you need to give permission to a third party in order for them to access your information on your behalf. That means they'll require your ID, the third party's ID, and a consent letter from you, which discloses that you're giving this individual access to your information. And it must be signed by both you and the third party. And your contact number must be, and when we do contact you, we will use the system's contact number that you have put on the system. And then we will contact you to verify if this third party may access your information. Next, please. So this is for quotations and pro forma invoices. A quotation is only done for the current year. And in order for a quotation to be done, you need to contact your academic facility or college, right? For this reason, as we are a finance department, we rarely deal with modules and registration matters. This must be done at your academic college or facility, right? And it's because we don't know what type of modules you guys will be registering. So we cannot give you advice on what to register or when to register it. If you need that type of information, as I said before, you need to contact your college. Pro forma invoices for the current academic year only, meaning we do not issue pro forma invoices for the previous years. If you want a pro forma invoice for the previous year, a statement of account will suffice. And then after, a pro forma invoice can be issued after provisional and full registration. And just to name one other thing, pro forma invoices are not for an individual, but for a company who's going to be paying your fees. So a student cannot request it for somebody to ask another person to pay for it. It has to be requested by your company or your department, your government department, or wherever you are currently working at that time. Information required for issuing a pro forma invoice: name of the bursary, employer, funding institution, address of the bursary, employer of the funding institution, VAT registration number, and in some cases, we also request that you provide us with your module details, module codes, so that we may make sure that it correlates with the information provided on the system. Also note that in other cases, some will request to add purchase orders and company registration number to that, and we do that as well. Tax invoices are not issued because fees for study units for formal qualifications are tax exempt, meaning we do not charge VAT on our study fees. Right. Payment methods and references. This will also be available on the handout. There are two types of payments methods. We use the UNISA web credit payment system, where you log on to my UNISA, you go into my UNISA page, and then you go and check the payment methods and references. There you click, and then it will direct you to the web credit payment page, where you will enter your student number, and from there you will follow the prompts in order to assist you to make payments. Please note that Sunnyside campus no longer has till points, so we do not make till swipes. We do not swipe, and we do not take cash at any of our institutions as well. ATM cash deposits, you can do that at FNB as a direct deposit, or you can also do an EFT payment. Please note, EFTs take 24 to 48 hours to clear, depending on which bank is being used. Right. Then these are the what do you call it? The references that will be used for the things that you required to direct your payments. Application fee, study fees, matriculation fee, library fees, and library access card. Please also take into consideration, right, that your student number must come first, then a space must be given, and then the reference must be put in order to direct the payment to the correct place.
Mr.
Please
Chikala,
also, yes,
may I just interrupt you?
yes.
Through you, Chairperson, if I can be allowed to interrupt.
Please
I
go
think
Yes.
I was just on the YouTube and I see that we are not able to see the presentation. I was wondering if you could maybe restart the sharing, just unshare.
All right.
Okay, and when you do share again, Mr. Oliveira, maybe let's try sharing the screen. On the share button, maybe let's try the screen option. Yes. Yeah, we can see your screen. If you could just locate the PowerPoint itself. Yes. Mr. Chikala, you might not necessarily need to start afresh, but maybe you can just briefly just summarize up to the point where you are, just so that students can follow some of what they had and could not see. So if you can just briefly, so that you don't lose a lot of the time you had already spent explaining, sir. But otherwise, we should be okay. I can see it streaming nicely. Thank you very much.
All right, no problem. Okay, sorry for that, my colleagues and students. Seems the presentation did not go through. Right, I'm going to give a brief recap quickly. This, just so that you know, student debtors does not deal with NAFSAS accounts. So in other words, you need to contact the Department of Student Funding in order for them to assist you with your NAFSAS and bursary queries. Student debtors only deal with self-paying students, right? And it is the responsibility, and just for clarity, if you've got a historic debt, it is the student's responsibility to pay it, and NAFSAS will not pay for it. So if you studied prior to getting NAFSAS, you will need to settle that outstanding first before they assist you with your current year's registration. Next, please. Right. As you can see, this is what we'll be going through: policies and rules, the POPIA Act, quotations and pro forma invoices, payment methods and references, acknowledgement of debt, payment forfeit, cancellation dates and cooling off period, refunds, financial suspension, reinstatements, account flags, and historic debt and handover debt. Right. Please note that the policies and rules, please familiarize yourself with them. And we do have a handout. All this information will be available on the handout as well, that you guys can download and you can also use to your assistance. The rules are available there. To assist UNISA to safeguard your personal information, please ensure that your My Life email address is used when communicating with the university. So in other words, students who already have My Life account, right, you are required. You are required to use it in order for us to assist you. And secondly, you need to provide your student number on the subject line of your email and a brief description of your query so that we may attend to it. And if it is incorrect, we will transfer it to the correct department. Right. This is the POPIA Act. It will be available on the handout. So, but on a brief thing, to summarize it, we do not allow third parties. So Doesn't matter if it's a friend or anything related. It doesn't matter if it's a friend, sibling, or relative or spouse. All right, and the information will be available on the handout as well. Last thing, you need to give permission to a third party in order for them to access your information on your behalf, meaning your ID, the third party's ID, and a consent letter. Right, next. For quotations, please contact your academic facility or college. Because we are a finance department, we rarely deal with modules and registration matters. And you need to, because we don't know what your modules are and what you'll be registering, we will not be able to assist you until you've sorted out a certain section within a certain part of your registration. Right, pro forma invoices are done for only the current year. Pro forma invoices will be issued after provisional or full registration, and just so you know, we do not do it for individuals or for students. If it's for the previous year, we only do it, a statement of account will suffice, right? This is the information that will be required. The employer, the bursary, the name of the bursary, employer or funding institution, their address, and then VAT registration number. Please also note, tax invoices are not issued because fees for study units for formal qualifications are exempt, meaning we do not charge VAT on your fees. Next. Right. Please note, you can access the payment methods and references on My UNISA, and then after there'll be a section under a column which will show you which will guide you with the steps. So for instance, you've got a web credit card payment. You will enter your student number, it will prompt you to do the payment and it will assist you and guide you. Please read carefully when doing it. And then as for direct deposits, you may go to the bank and do a direct deposit. Please note, payments do take 24 to 48 hours to clear, depending on the bank being used. When making a payment, please note, you need to enter your student number first, then after that, a space, and then the reference, which is right here where it says application fees, study fees, matriculation fees, library fees, and library access card. For related queries, you can email to finan@unisa or susped@unisa.ac.za. And please note, if you do put the incorrect information, you will need to send us the proof of payment so that we may correct it for you. Right, next. Bank details. Please note, we are no longer using Standard Bank. We are now using First National Bank. Our account name under that is UNISA Student Debts. Account number, it is a pre-approved public beneficiary. Right. So you can just type in UNISA under the public beneficiaries. The UNISA student fees deposit account will come up. You click on it, you enter your details and the amounts, and then after that, it will make the payment for you. Right, next. Please note, students not using FNB for their EFT should please use the following account numbers. If you, in some instances, right, some of the banks, you will not find the UNISA, you will not find it under pre-approved public beneficiary on some of the banks. So you will be required to enter the account number and then put in the information as requested. As it states, for reference of study fees, student number, space, and the allocation reference. Please, I cannot emphasize how important that is that you put it in the correct sequence, because it will delay you if you put it in the wrong sequence. And again, if you have made a mistake, please do not hesitate to email the proof of payment so that we may assist you in clarifying the matter as soon as possible. Next. All right. Payments by employers, bulk payments, sponsors, bursaries, donors, and international. This is the account number that we use. This will be available. It's also available on the UNISA payment page. And all this information, when making a payment advice form should be accompanied if you're making bulk payments. So if an excess of 100,000 is made and it's for 10 students and each of them are getting 10,000, a list will need to be made to see which students will be receiving this money so that we may allocate the payment on their behalf. And this must be submitted to susped@unisa.ac.za. Yeah. Right, hold on for 1 second. My colleague Olebogeng will be taking over from here.
Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me loud and clear, and welcome to the session. I'm going to take you through the rest of the presentation, and you're welcome to post your questions on the chat because my colleagues are busy answering those as we go on. We have something called an acknowledgement of debt, AOD for short, and this is basically a payment arrangement. We make payment arrangements not for outstanding historic debt, but rather for the current semester registration. So let me give you an example. Say, for example, you register for the second semester, and you don't have money to pay your minimum registration fee of like 5,000 or something. You can then get access to this form and you can complete it and then attach all the supporting documents and send it to us. Once it gets approved, you'll be registered under AOD. It's a different account type, so meaning on your form, you would have stipulated how much you're going to pay on a monthly basis until your fees are fully paid. So this is not a bursary, meaning you have to actually pay the money once you are registered. It allows the students to register if they do not have the minimum amount payable on registration, subject to the stipulated conditions. The conditions are obviously stipulated on the application form, as well as we've got guidelines that also accompany this. I'm just going to highlight a few conditions to signing an acknowledgement of debt. I'll just call it AOD for short, So the AOD must be completed in full and signed by the student. So you'll put your signature, you'll write all the details that's applicable on this form, and you must have a zero balance, so no historic debt whatsoever. Even if it's 5 cents, we will need that 5 cents to be paid in order for you to qualify for the AOD. Students applying for AOD must be temporarily registered, so meaning you must be a current registered student, like you have the intention of actually registering for the semester. So for example, obviously now registration is closed, so if it was registration, you would have to actually pick out your modules for the semester, so we'd know exactly how much it actually costs. So only students that have proof of income, perhaps if you are working or you know someone that is working, they can then, sign for you. So proof of income includes a payslip or parental proof of income, household proof of income, or bank statement. So that's what you can actually submit as supporting documents with your AOD. Students that do not have an income must obtain a consent of the person responsible for settling that student account, whether it's a parent, an aunt, or any third party. As long as you've got the permission, then it's fine. You can also then apply for this AOD. Please, can I have the next slide? Okay, so a student who has not honored a previous AOD, for example, in the second semester, if you had a AOD in the first semester and you did not pay in full, you will not be allowed to then apply for another AOD in the second semester. So you must make sure that your outstanding debt is actually at zero, and you must also make sure that you actually pay off your AOD from the previous time that you actually apply for it. So the AOD is limited to South African students only, with the exception of foreign students who currently reside in South Africa. Such students must actually attach the following documents: so a copy of passport or ID, a valid permit to reside in South Africa, proof of income, as well as proof of address. And then we also include first-time students who are not approved by NSFAS, provided they have proof of income and they're residing in South Africa, and all the other conditions that we just previously talked about. Thank you. Next slide. All right, so that was it about AOD. Now we're going to just talk about, cooling off periods, cancellation dates, and payment forfeiture. So for example, you have registered currently for the second semester and you feel like you cannot carry on, you need to cancel your courses for whatever reason. You'd obviously do that through your college or through the registration department. So we've got something called a cooling off period. But let me just read this quickly. So it's obviously for semester 1, semester 2, and your courses. We can cancel at any time, whether it be today after you finish registering or the next month or whenever. I think the next slide will actually show you the dates applicable and how much you're going to forfeit and so on. So according to the Consumer Protection Act, as well as the Electronic Communications and Transaction Act, a student may cancel his or his registration without reason or penalty within the 10 calendar days in writing or online. So I think on my UNISA, if you log on, there's a part where you can actually do the cancellation of your registration. So in order for you not to forfeit, you need to cancel it within 10 days of registration. So we do count weekends, and so you count on your calendar to see if it's after 10 days, you will obviously forfeit money, but if it's within 10 days, you will not forfeit any money towards your registration. Next slide. So this is the cancellation days that I was talking about. So for example, in the first semester, if you had to cancel before the 31st of March, you would then forfeit your minimum registration fee, and then you'll be credited the other part of your fees. Obviously, we're not in the first semester, so this is not applicable to you guys. However, if you've got semester 2 or your modules, we can look at the following dates. If you have to cancel any time before the 31st of August, so regardless of when you cancel a semester 2 module, you'll forfeit the minimum payment, and then full payment will be forfeited after this date. So if you do cancel on the 1st of September, then you'll be fully liable for your full cost of your courses, no matter what circumstances. So if you cancel due to the fact that you had to relocate to overseas, maybe got a new job, or you know that you just cannot cope with your studies, you will then be liable for the full cost of your courses. Your modules, this is obviously not applicable because right now it's already August. So if you cancel after the 15th of May, it says if you cancel a module before this date, you'll forfeit the minimum payment. If you cancel a module after this date, so meaning the 16th of May, you will forfeit the minimum payment and the second payment. You remain liable to pay the minimum and second payment if you cancel after the 16th or 15th of May, rather, so on the 16th of May or anytime after that. The final payment for your courses, so the 31st of August, which is the same as your semester 2 payment. If you cancel at this point, you forfeit the minimum and second payment. So the full payment forfeited after this date, you remain liable to pay the full outstanding fees. So I hope that that makes sense for you guys, and you'll have a look at your calendar. So when you cancel, you do make an informed choice about this. The next slide. So we come to refunds. So refunds is when you actually come and ask the university that you've got a credit balance on your student account because you've overpaid, or maybe somebody else paid for you. So we cannot refund anybody with a credit less than 100 Rand. So if you've got 99 Rand, we can unfortunately not refund you. So it needs to be 100 or more. Application and miscellaneous fees are non-refundable. So if you paid your 135 Rand for application, we cannot refund that amount. So we're only going to refund your study fees that is paid in excess of what you've actually paid for the current year. Refunds, we only do this for formal qualifications. So that means not your short learning programs. And we also only do it for students that are registered as self-paying students, like my colleague Simon has actually said. We don't deal with NSFAS credit balances. So no refunds will be processed without completed documents. So you need to complete your refund form, and you also need to provide us with the accompanying supporting documents, which would be your ID. That would also be a proof of payment, which is very important that you keep that. We'd also need, it's actually stated on the form. I think on the handout, it's actually stipulated very nicely for you to actually understand. And once you've completed this, you can then email it to us at finnan@unisa.ac.za, and then it takes about 14 or less business days for us to actually refund you back. Next slide. Okay, this is a very interesting part, the financial suspensions and reinstatements. So what happens is that every year or every semester, actually, the suspensions happen. So when it's applicable, it's immediately after the due date of payment of semester 0, semester 1, and semester 2. So because we're in semester 2, the final date for your fees to be paid is actually the 31st of August. So after this date, anytime, the university can then take the decision that they're going to do a financial suspension. And this actually happens to people that have not paid their fees in full. So if you've got any outstanding balances, your account could be financially suspended. Financial suspensions will usually run just before the admission of exams program. So students who have outstanding fees will still receive exam timetables. Continuous assessment modules will be reinstated if not cancelled beforehand. So for those students that do not have sit-down exams and they have those continuous assessment modules, it is important that if you do not continue with your continuous assessment modules, that you actually cancel them, because if you do not cancel them, they will still be reinstated and you will still be liable for the full fees of that module. Financial cancel modules may be reinstated in 3 ways. So once you are financially cancelled and you do make the payment, a batch program will be run and then your modules will be reinstated. If you do come to the university and visit the campus and you request for the modules to be reinstated, we can also do that. And also, if you write your exams, including your SIC or ACRETAT exams, then your modules can also be reinstated. So there are 3 ways that the modules are reinstated. This is excluding the continual assessment, which is automatically reinstated regardless of whether you ask for it or not, unless you do cancel it beforehand. Next slide. Account flags. I'm just going to go briefly through this because it is not something that you ordinarily see, but sometimes your account does get blocked and it could be because of various reasons. For example, the first one could be a study fee debt, and this is when you have outstanding debt that is due immediately. There could be a financial flag on your account. This is when you have been owing money for a substantial amount of time and your account is actually handed over to a debt collector. You will know this because you will get an SMS from an external party asking you to pay your account. And for that, we'll have a financial flag on your account. A handed over flag, this is what happens when your account is actually handed over to a debt collector. So when this happens and you do pay the debt collector, then we can then remove the flag. There's other flags on other accounts like your matriculation board, library accounts. Sometimes you do also get flagged if you don't return your books and you do owe money for it. And all these flags actually, thank you, all these flags will actually not allow you to have access to your examination results. So in order to get these removed, you either have to send us an email or visit the campus or give us a call, and then we'll then lift these flags. The library flag, however, we do not do. It is not finance's responsibility. We'll need to contact the library itself or send an email to the library at that email address that is stipulated on the presentation. Next. So historical debt and handed over debt. This is when you've been owing money for, like I said, a substantial amount of time to the university. And if you owe more than 300 Rand, the university can then hand over your account to a debt collector to collect. And these are the debt collectors that we use. You can receive a call or SMS from Kumalo Masondo, from Nokoma Imela, or Hand Collections. The university reserves the right not to render services to students with outstanding balances. Thank you. Next. And I think that brings it to the end of our presentation. And like I said, if you've got questions, you can feel free to put it on the chat. Thank you so much. Over to you, Victor.
All right, thank you so much, Olobogeng and Simon. Thank you for that presentation. I'd like to apologize. Sorry, I wasn't aware the presentation wasn't being streamed on YouTube. My apologies for that. Sorry. Thank you so much, Mr. Rashidi, for making us aware of that. Colleagues, if there's any questions, you can post them on the chat. Okay, I see. Hi. I do apologize. Some of these questions have been answered. Here's a question. Since my payment does not reflect, is there any other... Oh, sorry, I've just lost this. Any other way you can assist me in claiming my UNISA login? Okay, the My UNISA login, there is an email that you can send through to My UNISA help at unisa.ac.za. They'll be able to assist you with that login. But you did mention your payment does not reflect. Perhaps you can send that proof of payment to SUSDEP ID, which is SUSDEP ID at unisa.ac.za, which basically stands for Suspense Deposit Identifier. Okay, another question here. What must I do if I register at UNISA but applied at NEFSIS for the wrong semester? Maybe that question could address to our colleagues from DSF, Directorate Student Funding. They'll have a session after this one at 12:30. But if you are not funded for a specific semester or academic year and you are registered, then you would be responsible for that payment, that account. Okay, the suspense email, we'll type that in there for you. The monthly allowances, I'm assuming that's with NEFSIS. Again, our colleagues from DSF will have a presentation after this one. I'd advise, if possible, to attend that. They'll be able to assist you with that. Unfortunately, it doesn't fall within our portfolio, so I'm not even going to try because I don't have that information. What happens if NEFSIS don't end up paying my registration? I end up paying myself. Will I get refunded if NEFSIS decides to finally pay? Again, please, if you can, attend the NEFSIS session after that. They'll be able to guide you on that. Okay, will my account be flagged if I pay, for instance, half the amount at the end of August? Okay, let's use a very simple example. If you register for a module that costs R1,000, 33% of that would be payable on registration. The balance would be payable at a later stage in the year, whether that is first semester, second semester, year module. So let's keep it really simple because my maths may not be that great. You pay R300 on registration, you now owe R1,000 by the end of August. If you pay R500, you'll still be owing R400. Your account will be financially suspended and your account will be credited with the R700, which is the May payment. So at that stage, you'll actually have a credit of R500. As my colleagues mentioned, if you write that exam, the module will be reinstated, or if you pay the fees and you request the reinstatement, the module will be reinstated. And with the reinstatement, your account will now be debited with the payment that was due in August. In other words, you'll be charged again with the R700. Since you paid R500, you'll have a R400 that's due immediately. Once you pay that account, your account will be unflagged. If you have any balance or any payment that's due immediately, your account will be systematically flagged. So if your account is up to date, but you apply for remarking, now miscellaneous fees are always payable immediately. So whether it's a remark, exam fees, you purchase a copy of an examination script, all those fees are payable immediately. So if you've only paid your minimum fees, but you apply for a remark, for example, that remark fee will be due immediately. Your account will then be flagged systematically. You won't be able to access academic records, exam results, etc. So the same with the financial suspensions. If you have a balance that's due immediately, it will flag your account. Once you settle the due immediately flag, then your account is unblocked. Okay, just trying to see if there's any other questions. Do I need to pay an AOD form? An AOD form, unfortunately for the second semester, the registration has closed, so the forms are not available. But the AOD form is, as Olabacheng explained, is to assist students who are unable to pay that minimum fee by the closing date. So maybe you don't have the full minimum fee, or you have a portion of the minimum fee, but not the full minimum fee. Then you can apply for an AOD. The normal financial rules will apply even if your AOD is approved. It just bypasses that requirement or allows you a grace in terms of the payment of the initial registration fee. So you can sort of register without paying that minimum fee. Your account is flagged because the minimum fee hasn't been paid and it's due immediately. If your account's not up to date, you get financially suspended. If you do not settle your account can be handed over. It's just sort of like a way to bypass the minimum fee to assist students to register. You may just be a few rand short, so it'll allow you. However, the one condition is you should not have historical debt. Assistance, you need some logins. I think we do that. Sorry, Apologies, I've also got a call coming through at the moment. Okay, can I write exams and do assignments while I'm owing? Yes, you can. Even if you are financially suspended, you will be allowed to write your exams. You'll be allowed to submit your assignments. Even if you have a due immediately flag, say if you paid your minimum fee or you applied for an AOD and you got a due immediately flag because you haven't paid your minimum fee. But if you've got any fees due immediately, you can still submit your assignments. You just won't be able to access your examination results or academic records. If you are financially suspended and you received admission to the exams, you may still go write that exam. The university will reinstate the module. Once we receive your examination script, so we'll reinstate the module, we'll load your marks, your script will be marked, but you won't be able to access that mark until you have paid that due immediately balance. So once you settle that balance, say now we're in the second semester, if you settle it in December, you'll only be able to access your results in December. If you settle it in October, once the marks are available, you'll then be able to access that. Okay, all right. NEFSAs, unfortunately, we can't think. Okay, where do we get the AOD forms, and is it possible to post here? AODs are currently closed, but if you'd like an AOD form going forward for your next registration, you can just send a request to FINAN, which is FINAN@unisa.ac.za. Your student number, AOD in the subject line, and request an AOD form. Criteria on the AOD form may change, but the main is actually that you should have proof of income, should not have historic debt, must be a citizen, South African citizen staying in South Africa, or if you're not a South African citizen, international or foreign student residing in South Africa, and those criteria. If there's any changes to those criteria or amendments, those will be available on the form. They're available for next year. Fortunately, currently they are closed for this semester. Sorry, with NEFSAs, we are unable to assist. Okay, colleagues, perhaps you can help if I missed any questions. I think I have missed several, but if there are any other questions that you do see. Just trying to scroll and see what other questions there are that we haven't perhaps answered. Yes, Mr. Rashidi.
Yes, thank you for the opportunity. I just want to maybe resubmit the point about AOD, just for clarity, because I am sensing that some of the students who are here may be still temporarily registered. And I just want maybe to get clarity on their behalf, if perhaps they were asking in that regard to say, I have registered before the registration closed, and now I realize I don't have enough money, so can I still make use of AOD? I think just to put the matter to bed, so to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I think at this stage it's a bit late, sadly. The final date for payment is today, so if you make a payment, it'll still go through, but that process is very, very automated. If you fill in the right reference numbers, it comes through. AOD requires a lot of manual intervention. You'll have to review the form, make sure all the criteria are met, request the SAR to do that registration. So AODs, we've actually closed those applications with registration. Our registration was extended until the 29th, so we accepted AODs until the 29th. That therefore allows us 2 days to process the applications that we received. If we have to extend AODs to today, we may not be able to process all those AODs before registrations are removed off the system. So sorry, it is a bit late. it would be easy to say yes, apply for an AOD, but then you'd have to send it for. Yeah, it also jeopardizes the students. I mean, we are already a bit late in terms of modules and your academic calendar, so it does put you in a tight spot. But I would advise going forward, if you do need an AOD, please send it. This is now for the next semester, not for the current semester. For the current semester, it is sadly too late at the moment. Thank you so much, sir. Okay, again, NEFSIS queries. Sorry, I don't mean to be a nuisance in repeating myself. We are really not equipped to answer those questions. We may have some general knowledge, but we're not the custodians of that. Again, if you could perhaps attend the NEFSIS session, our colleagues at DSF or Director of Student Funding will be really glad to assist you and advise you with that. Okay, I paid my registration fee when I received an email from UNISA. If the fees were paid into the bank account yesterday, they should reflect on your account either today or tomorrow. If they reflect tomorrow, they reflect with today's date. The university has a batch program that runs every evening. So if you are temporary registered and you have made your minimum payment and your payment reflects today, the batch program will activate your registration this evening. So you should get an SMS. I got mine, I think at 9 at night or something like that. Worst case scenario, you'll get an SMS then tomorrow. Sorry, cannot pay minimum at the end of semester. The minimum fee for the second semester is due by today, the 31st of July. That is an extended date. Unfortunately, at this stage, there's no extension to that. So yeah, today is the closing date. All right, just rolling through the questions to see if there are any other questions, and thank you to my colleagues who are answering questions on Teams. I see you are doing a great job, even if I say so myself. Thank you so much for your assistance there. Also, if you do have any questions that we may not have answered, or questions that you do require additional information on, please send an email to Finan. Again, FINAN, the first 5 letters of finance at unisa.ac.za. And as my colleague Simon mentioned, your student number in the subject line and what you'd like additional information on. So if it is an AOD, just AOD and then list your question and we'll attend to that. An hour may seem long, but it really isn't that long. You may have questions that we may not have answered, or we have answered and you have follow-up questions. And also you may think of questions later. Please feel free to send an email. There's also information on the web if you'd like to browse that. All right, I see that we scheduled the link for the NEFSIS meeting. Sorry, it is a bit tricky. I don't know which questions have been answered, and I think most of them have actually been answered. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank my colleagues and thank you, students, for attending the session. You know, we appreciate that you have attended. Hopefully we have provided information that is useful to you. And thank you to Simon and Olabeheng for their presentation, and to the team who's answering questions in the background, to Matobani, to Tuli, to Opa and Ricky and everyone else who's in the background answering questions. Thank you, really appreciate it. And then again, a big thank you to Mr. Rashidi and his team, the Student Retention Unit, for arranging this orientation session. It's not easy coordinating everything, so thank you so much, sir. It's appreciated. And you know, because we are open distance learning, this session may just guide you in the right directions. In terms of the students, I see a question. I have a question about a refund form and the documents, but nothing happened. Okay, the refund form is available on the link. If you go to the payments link right at the bottom, there is two links for the refund form. So you can download the refund form, and then it will ask you for the compulsory documents, as Lebogang mentioned, which would be your proof of payment, a copy of your ID, bank confirmation, and the form. Again, it's only for self-funded. So if there are any NEPSIS transactions or funded transactions on that, we will ask our colleagues at DSF to assist. I hope I've answered that. Or did I misunderstand it? I need to know about the refund form and the documents. Or still nothing happened. I have a question about the refund forms. The documents, but nothing still happened. Is that to do, have you applied for a refund and haven't received any feedback, or is it just a general question about the refunds? Also, if your studies were paid by a sponsor or third party, and they have paid, in addition to your study fees, they paid a book allowance or accommodation and so forth, UNISA's policy is that those funds will be refunded back to your sponsor bursar. UNISA is not responsible for the administration of that bursary. So study fees is payable to UNISA. Any other fees, whether it be it for books or allowances, etc., that should be payable to those service providers. Okay, I see you did mention that you emailed the documents, but nothing's happened. Okay, I've got your student number. I will follow that up for you. Okay, I've got your student number from your email address. Thank you for using your MyLife email. It's Ms. Nari. So I'll have a look at that, and then I'll see what I can do. I'll reply to you, let you know. Okay, there's a question, what I do if I'm too late for AOD. Again, this is going to sound harsh. If you don't have the minimum fee at the moment, then you do miss out on this semester. Right. I think also because registration is closed, I'm not too sure if you'll be able to remove a module or two. Prior to AODs, that used to be the advice. If you've got 10 modules and you can only afford 7, maybe remove a few of your modules. In terms of registration status, may not be able to advise you. If you have made your payment and your registration is still not activated, you'd have to inquire with your college. Payment would be allocated to remains allocated to a reference. Okay, you sent the email yesterday, then it's fine. Payment was made before the due date. We will have a look at that. Colleagues, I think we're coming toward the ends of our time. So if I'm not able to pay, sorry, just give me a sec. So if I am not able to pay the minimum fee, I won't be able to continue with my studies. Yes, sadly, that is true. At the current stage, it is too late to apply for an AOD, and if you don't have the minimum fee, today being the closing date, sadly, there isn't time to allow you an extension of that. As I mentioned earlier, the academic calendar has also started on that. Okay, colleagues and students, I'd like to thank you all again for attending the session. And I wish you all the best of your studies. Hope it goes smoothly, and hopefully it's an enjoyable and enriching experience. And have a wonderful afternoon. And please, if you can attend the DSF session, I think it'll be very useful. Thank you so much, and have a good day, everybody.